Now the beginning of a three-part series here on Al Jazeera on how candidates in the upcoming US presidential election are courting America's minorities. Immigration will likely be one of the big issues in the 2008 vote, particularly among Latino voters. With recent elections in the US being won by small margins, the importance of minority voting blocs is on the rise, and as the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States, Latinos could play a major role in the 2008 vote. Latino Americans make up 14% of the United States population. More than 21 million of them are registered to vote. Nearly half of all Latino Americans live in Texas and California, but there's also a large population in Florida, a key swing state in the last election. Latino Americans now make up about 20% of that state's total population. Al Jazeera's Kimberly Halkett looks at the Latino clout in the first of our three-part series, Minority Rule.
When they're not talking politics, this is how Luis Aragon and his Latino friends spend their time. Like all good chess players, they plan their moves well in advance and keep their strategies secret. When it comes to politics, understanding the Latino vote can be just as hard as reading a game of chess.
We pretty much split, but we widely open. We can go either way, Democrat or Republican.
Latinos now number 45 million. They are the largest and fastest growing minority group in the United States. As their numbers grow, so does their political influence and importance. Latinos may well decide the result in a close election.
Very few elections are won by a landslide nowadays. Most elections are won at the margins, at the 2, 3, 4% margin of error. And a 6% of Latino electorate in a community, in a state, in a jurisdiction does have a large impact in a lot of the elections.
The largest and most politically powerful groups are Cuban Americans in South Florida, who traditionally are staunch Republicans. But Mexican Americans in the Southwest and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans in the Northeast have historically voted Democratic. But Latinos' rich cultural diversity has also proved to be their biggest political liability, with a fragmented community unable to unite as a political force. The immigration debate, divisive, at times racist, has galvanized Latinos from all walks of life like never before. Hundreds of thousands are registering to vote for the first time, keen to have their voices heard.
They're going to become citizens by the time the 2008 election rolls around. Plus the fact that we have nearly 7 million Latinos who right now are eligible to vote but are not registered to vote. If we get those folks registered, it could make a huge difference.
For the first time in U.S. history, a Latino is vying to become the next president. But New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson is not alone in courting the Latino vote. At this event, sponsored by the nation's largest Latino advocacy group, the two leading candidates for the Democratic nomination flew in to win over voters.
Really, it's not so much reading a briefing book or being handed a policy paper and said, okay, this is what you should say when you're in front of an audience of Latinos. Well, no, it's who you are and what you believe in.
Our separate struggles are really one. If there's a child stuck in a crumbling school who graduates without ever learning how to read, it doesn't matter if that child is Latino and from Miami or an African American from Chicago or a white girl from rural Kentucky. She's still our child.
Hola, soy Craig Ramos.
And what about the Republicans? Even though none attended this conference, these internet websites in Spanish are examples of how both parties are targeting Hispanics in a multimedia campaign blitz. As the Latino population continues to grow in size and stature in the United States, what is increasingly clear is that no potential candidate from either party can afford to ignore this strategically powerful community. Kimberly Halkett, Al Jazeera.